Yes, sir. Yes, Dr. Krishnan, we are continuing. Hey, so did it come up?
Hmm?
Did it start? Team viewer?
Um, yeah, I got the password right here.
Oh, but you also need to start sharing your screen in StreamYard so that I will be able to see the ID and the password. And so that uh, your screen is also shown in the session recording.
Okay.
I thought it must be still loading, so I was just waiting for you to tell me something, like update me.
Yeah, it says it's sharing the screen. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Oh, it just started, yes. And now if you can pull up the TeamViewer window, yes. Okay, ID ending 066. Password is WHRE49. Okay. WHRE49. And there we go, I'm connected. Awesome. No echo. So if you can just start Jupyter Notebook now.
Mm-hmm.
You remember how to do that? Oh, it looks like it's already running.
Oops. Right here.
Awesome. Perfect. So let's just start right away. You remember what we did last time?
Um, we did list and dictionaries. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. And we also talked about the control structures in Python. So we learned about these if statements and else statements and else if statements, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So you were supposed to find which is the greatest number. Okay. So it looks like you've written A greater than B or C. Okay. I think this should not work. Let's see. Oh, okay. So if we execute this code, it's not working as it should, right?
Mm.
Because B is the greatest of all, but it shows that A is greater than B and C. So there must be something that we're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's just see what we can do to address this. What I'm gonna do is comment this code so that that doesn't get executed, and let's start writing our own code now. So let's say A is 25, B is 45, and C is 15. If any point of time you don't hear my voice or anything, just tell me, okay?
Okay.
All right. So what would we want to do first? Let's just check if A is greater than B. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this do? This would compare two numbers A and B.
Yes.
The mistake that you committed, yes, you checked. Your logic was correct that you wanted to check whether A was bigger than B and A was bigger than C. But The syntax is incorrect. So you have to tell Python individually that this is what you're gonna have to do. So let's say we check for this condition. If A is greater than B, we just type in for now that A is bigger. So what happens in the else condition?
We can print that B is bigger.
Yes, so we can just print that B is bigger or A is smaller, right?
Hmm.
That's what I'm going to do is A is bigger than, oh, sorry, messed up. A is bigger than B, and here A is smaller. Woo, what happened? It just doesn't like me. Huh. A is smaller than B. So we checked for one condition, but now we have to check for C as well. So if we just run this code, for now it will, oh,
You
okay.
have an extra quote right near the end of B.
Yes, found it. Awesome. And right now it's just comparing two numbers. It's a regular thing. We already learned about comparing two numbers over here. We did, right? Oh yeah, there we go. We
Mhm.
did. So now we want to compare another number, which is C. So we'll do it inside this condition. So instead of printing that A is bigger than B, now we'll check if A is greater than C. You see what I'm doing here? I checked for one condition, which is A greater than B? Yes. So now we'll check, is A greater than C? Uh-oh. If that happens, then now we'll type, what will we print?
That A is greater
Uh-huh,
or
A is
bigger.
greater. Uh-huh, A is the largest of all. But if A is not greater than C, then what would be the case?
That A is the smallest.
No, because it's already bigger than B.
Mm.
So check this out. A is already bigger than B. But if A is smaller than C, what does this tell us about the largest number? Which one of them is the largest number now?
A is the largest then.
No. Check. A is greater than B. That's true.
Yes.
But if A is not greater than C, if A is less than C, then the largest number is
C.
C. So you understand how C becomes the largest, right?
Yes.
Because since A was already greater than B, but A is now smaller than C. So we discovered that there was a number that was bigger than A as well. But since A was already greater than B, it also means that the number that is bigger than A is also bigger than B, which means the third number, which is C, is now the largest of all. You see what we did here? We checked for multiple conditions. We first checked if A and B. So we first checked which number from A and B was bigger. And then we compared the same number with the third number, which was C. So now here, let's consider the case where A is smaller than B, which is this case. So just like we did here above, we checked it with C. Here we'll compare. What do you think we should compare with the third number?
If we can repeat that again.
Okay, so here A was greater than B. So that's why we compared A with C now. So in this case, in this else statement, we already have established that A is smaller than B, which means that B is greater than A. So now we'll compare it with C. So
Hmm.
which number should we compare with C? Would it be A or would it be B?
It would be B and C together.
Yes, so we'll compare B with C. So now we check. Here, else statement, here we already know that B is greater than A. This has already been established. That's why we are in the else statement. So now we check if B is greater than C. If B is greater than C, it means that B is the,
Largest of all.
yes, B is the largest of all. But if B is less than C, uh, so if this condition is false, if this condition is not true, then it will walk into the else statement. So if B is not greater than C, it means that B is less than C, right?
Yes.
So which makes C,
The largest of all.
yes, C is the largest of all. We'll just remove this print statement. You see what's happening here? We wrote an if-else statement in which inside the if part we wrote another if-else statement, and then inside this else part we wrote another if-else statement. So this is actually called nesting of if-else, oops,
Mm.
statements. Nesting means there's one, and then there's at the sub level there's one more if else. So we can what Python allows us to do is we can keep writing these if condition, if some other condition, if other condition, if one more condition, if yet another condition, because why not? And then we can just write a corresponding else statement with that if, and then with this if, and then this if, and then this if, and then this if. So you see how each if and else start in the same position.
Mm-hmm.
This one if and this one else, they both start at the same position. This if and this if start at the same position. So this is how Python knows that which else corresponds to which if statement. So if this condition is executed and if this is false, then Python will straight away go to this else and execute this else statement because this if is associated with this else. So we have to make sure that whenever we write an if else statement, we have to make sure that the if and else both start at the same position. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
All right then. Simple so far?
Yes.
All right. So now if we execute this code that we just wrote with these number values that we have assigned, check what happens. Go ahead and execute the code for me, please. Okay. Says B is the largest of all. Is that the case here?
Yes.
Okay. So let's try changing the values in such a way that A becomes the largest. Just so that we know that our code is working properly, try changing these values where A becomes the largest. So change the values of A and C
Okay.
and make A the largest. Like pick a number which is bigger than 45 for A. Okay. And make it the largest for now. Okay. So in this situation, it's A which is the largest, right?
Yes.
So if we execute the code now, check what our code does. It says A is the largest of all. So in the background, what it's actually doing is it's executing this code first. So if it checks is A greater than B, in this case, is A greater than B?
Yes.
Yes. So now it enters this if statement because this condition that it checked for is true. So if this is true, then it knows that I have to enter here. Now it will execute this. So now executing the first line, it checks if A is greater than C. So here is 61 greater than 50?
Yes.
Yes. So this condition is true as well. So now Python knows that it has to enter over here. If this condition was false, it would straight away enter the else part. But since this condition is true right now, it enters this if and prints that A is the largest of all. So what if I just change the value of C to 95? What would happen now?
Z will be the largest of all now.
So the code will print that C is the largest of all. But can you walk me through the code how this happened?
Mm. So first, it goes through the first code for A is greater than B, and then
Can you also keep highlighting so that I follow along with
okay.
you like
So it
this?
goes through. So it goes through. A is if A is greater than B,
Okay,
and then it goes to here too. If it goes to A is greater than C,
okay.
but that both of these aren't true, so it goes to the if statement right here.
Which one? Can you please highlight it?
Hmm.
Which if statement? Can you highlight it? Oh, that's the else statement.
Hmm. You
Okay.
faded out just for a second there.
Oh, okay, no problem. Okay, so what if I do this? 61 and 45. What do you think happens now? Would it change the result?
Mm, no, it shouldn't.
Go ahead and execute the code. Okay, so it doesn't change the result. So can you now again explain, walk me through the code, just like you did last time, while highlighting what was happening?
So first, it goes to if A is greater than B, which is
Okay.
not. It goes to this statement right here. If A is greater than C, which
Uh,
also isn't true.
no,
So
no.
it goes straight to the else statement over here, and
Hang on. So no, I actually need to stop you because you made a mistake here. So what happens with Python is that it executes the code line by line, right?
mm-hmm.
So first it executes this part. Is A greater than B? So now look at the
Yeah,
numbers. Is 45 greater than 61?
no,
No. So this statement is incorrect. This is false. So once it knows that this is false, then it skips the entire if part because it knows that it has only got to enter here if this condition is true, if A is
mm,
actually greater than B. But in this case, it's not, right? A is less than B, so this condition is false. So it straight away walks to this, and here to the else
oh,
statement. And now it enters this part and checks. So if is B greater than C, so is 61 greater than 95?
no,
No, right? So this condition is false. It can only go to the if part, this part, if this condition is true, if actually B is greater than C. If this is true, then it enters here and execute this line. But B is greater than C is incorrect. So that's why it just skips from the if statement to the else statement and enters this else statement and prints C is the largest of all. So do you actually see what's happening here? Or why
yes,
we use the if statements and else statements? It's okay to say no. I mean, if you don't understand it, I'll walk you through it again. No problem, okay? So don't
it's
worry.
fine. I do understand.
Uh-huh. I just wanted you to know that this is how the control structures work. So like when this condition is not true, it just walks to the else statement straight away.
Hmm.
So let's say, oh, you had one more thing, right? Okay. Name equals tray or tray. Okay. I want the Python code to recognize the name tray whenever I check for it. Okay, so we did it here. So yes. So if I keep changing these cases every time, you'll have to keep adding one more elif statement, one more else if statement covering for that case, right? Currently, what you're doing is checking for the capital T in the name. And then you're checking for if all the letters are in uppercase or if all the letters are in lowercase. But if I input a value like this, then you'll have to write one more else if statement. Oh, okay, I cannot do it. Control. Okay, I Windows C, Windows Z. Then you'll have to check for this scenario as well, which is R is in uppercase and everything else is in lowercase. So now if you run the code, it will see that yes, this is in fact your name. So now if I do this, I'll just make E the uppercase letter. So once again, it will end up telling me that no, this is not your name. So now I'll have to write one more else if condition to handle that scenario. But what if I don't want to keep writing all these if else's? What if there's a way to do it in 2 lines?
Hmm.
So here's how you can actually do that. What I'm going to do is comment this code as well. But before I show you how we can solve this, I'll have to show you how simple Python actually is.
Hmm.
So check this out. Now name is phrase. So if I
Yes.
go ahead and print name, it prints whatever value I entered here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now instead of doing this, if I do this, print, oh, I cannot duplicate. If I do this name dot lower. So did I show this to you last time? What would happen if I do name dot lower?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So if I do this name dot lower, take a guess. What would happen?
It'll make all the letters lowercase in the name.
Okay. And what if I do name dot upper?
It'll capitalize all the letters in my name.
Okay. So let's just try and execute this code. Go ahead and execute the code. So you see how it types in it shows you 3 results.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is it first executed this statement where it just printed whatever was in the variable called name, right? Which was this weird looking name. It printed it here.
Mm-hmm.
Then it executes this second line of code where it takes name and then converts it to lowercase as you already predicted. So it
Yes.
prints all of the letters as lowercase. Now it takes name again and prints all of the letters in uppercase. I can also do something like this. Let's say print name dot title. So what this will do is print the name in title case where it will capitalize the first letter and everything else will go back to
Hmm.
being a lowercase letter.
Okay.
So making these basic simple changes in Python is as easy as just telling Python to do it in lowercase or do it in uppercase. So when you want to do that, you just put a dot after your variable and then write whatever you want Python to do. So let's say you wanted it to convert it to lowercase. So you type in the variable name, then you type in a dot to tell Python that you are going to do something with this variable, and then you write the process. So let's say you want to convert it to lowercase. So you wrote lower and then these parentheses. So now Python knows that I have to take this variable. Hang on. Uh, I have to take this variable, and then with this dot, I have to convert this variable to lowercase. So using this same solution, same logic, let's say I let the user enter anything they want. If I do this, if name, and I then convert it to lowercase, so if when I convert this name to lowercase and if it equals stray like this,
Yes.
it means that this is my name, right?
Yes.
So yes, that's your name. Otherwise, it's not my name. So I just print that no, that's not my name. You see see what's happening here? Now, if I enter tray like this and execute the code, what do you think will get printed?
It'll print the else statement instead of
The-
the if statement.
Okay, so go ahead and execute the code. So notice something off here. You predicted something, but it did something else.
Oh, it said if my name's lower equals Trey, then yes, that's my name.
Okay, so what this is doing is you can input anything here. I could enter it like this. What if I execute the code now? What will get printed?
It'll say yes, that's your name
Uh-huh. Why?
because it's because of the name dot lower. It makes it all it all makes it all lowercase.
Uh-huh. So it does not make any difference now that whatever case I enter here, it's always going to convert it to lowercase and compare it to lowercase name tray. So as long as this variable has got these letters TREY in this order, it's always going to recognize that yes, this is your name. Makes
Hmm.
no difference if I enter it like this or like TREY or TREY. Every time you execute it, it's going to know that yes, at the end of it, it's still Trey, and Trey is your name. So if I just enter Trey and a space, what do you think now? What's gonna happen?
It's gonna print the else statement this time.
Yes,
If
it's
there's a
going to
bit-
print the else statement this time because we are not comparing spaces here. We're just checking if it has four letters in this order T, R, E, and Y.
Hmm.
So instead of actually having to cover for all these cases by writing so many else if statements, we can just handle the whole issue in two lines by using the simple function called lowercase, or you could do it this either. You can just change it to uppercase and compare it with an uppercase tray. So it does not make any difference as long as what you're doing is you're just checking for this name. All right. So understand so far what's happening?
Yes.
Awesome. Any questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So we can move forward now and go to we'll go to the for loop. Okay. Date is 07/01/2020, and the topic we'll cover is for loops. In fact, let's just say loops in Python. The first question that arises is what is a loop? Do you have any clue what a loop is?
Something that repeats itself in a code.
Awesome. So you already know that much. So a loop in general is something that's round, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if I take a string which is straight, and then I just connect those two edges, two ends of the string, it becomes a circle, and it becomes a loop. So just like in real life, in code, a loop is something that repeats itself, as you said. So any code which is repeated any number of times, it's called a loop. So this is not just for in Python. This is true for all the programming languages out there. So let's say, oh, before we continue, I actually need to tell you about the loops. So why are loops used? What do you think? Why do we use loops?
Hmm. To repeat different things inside of the code.
Uh-huh. To repeat some kind of code numerous times. Types of loop, there are basically two types of loop. One is for loop, and the second is a while loop. So that's the basic. This is the part that you need to know about the loops. There's a for loop and there's a while loop. So first, let's start with for loop. So just like in real life, the word for is used in loop because you can tell if we were talking and I was talking actually to Python. If I want to tell Python that for all these items do this, or for all these numbers do something, or for all these numbers, let's say print the numbers, for all these words print the words, or for all the lists that I gave you, add the lists, or for all the variables that I declared, subtract the variables from each other. So just like I'm using the word for in sentences, it is exactly how you use the word for in loops or in actual coding part. So I'll show you the significance of a for loop. Let's say I want you to print numbers from 1 to 10. Or let's say you'll just use a list that you've declared. Let's say this is the list we are going to deal with. So this is a list. And what I want you to do is print all the elements of a list one by one. So I want you to print all these foods one by one. So without knowing what a for loop is, like let's just forget that there exists something that is called a for loop. If you just wanted to print these elements one by one, how would you print them?
Mm,
You can just write print. Okay, awesome. Uh-huh.
hmm.
And then since you would be printing from food list, you would write food list.
Underscore. Right.
Yes, underscore, yes. You cannot use space. You have to keep write it exactly like that. Okay. And now since you just want to print one element from the list, you will use the square bracket and put the position of the element inside. So let's say if you want to print the first element, you would type in, okay, yes, awesome. You remember that this is 0. And if you execute it, it would print pizza. Awesome. So if I want you to print all these elements one by one, how can you do it? Just like this. You'll type in food list 0, then food list 1,
One, and then two, and then three.
2, and then 3. Yes. And now you'll execute it. And voila. But what if I just added one more element here? Let's say I added burgers. And now if you want to print everything one by one, you're going to have to add one more line of code here, which is food list and
Four.
change this to 4. What if I add 15 more items here? Then you're going to have to type in 15 more lines here, right?
Yes.
So that's where the for loop comes in. Where you see what are the only changing parts in these lines? What part
Just
stays
in.
the same? Just the number is changing, right?
Yes.
Everything else is staying the same. So if only there was a way that would execute this code, print food list and then this. And in here, let's say I pass x, where x would keep changing from 0 to whatever the size of the list is. So let's say 10 or 12 or 15 or 16 or so this something that would keep executing this code, and instead of this X, it would actually keep putting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until it actually reaches the end of the list. So this is one of the main reasons why the for loops come in, or why the for loops were invented. So if I wanted to do the same thing with the list or with the for loops, I would do it like this. For I, id. Oh, okay. So let's just put a pause here. And before I go to for loop, one of the most important things about for loop is range. So the question now that comes is what is actually a range? What do you think range should be?
It's like, is it like the number of codes inside of a? It's just a number of codes.
More or less. So a range is a starting number. So range basically consists of a starting number and an ending number.
Ending.
Right. So a range is a starting number and ending number that we pass to the for loop so that it knows that it has to start from this number and execute the code till it reaches the ending number. Do you understand what I'm where I'm going with this? So what actually happens is I'll show you how or what I'm actually talking about. So I'll just comment this code and I'll write learning about range. So let's say if I want to print 1 to 15, okay,
Mm-hmm.
or first 20 numbers, I can do it with I can do it with print statements like this, print one and then print two and everything, just as we printed these lists. But no, I want to do it with the for loop. So what I can do is I can write for. Let's say I'm going to use x for now, but this is a variable name. You can name it anything that you want. But for now, I'm keeping it x so you can follow. So for x in range 1 to let's say 21. So remember that whenever you're writing a for loop or while loop or if statement, else statement, always remember that it ends with a colon symbol. And whenever there's a colon symbol, the next line is indented. You see how it automatically indented things for me. I cannot write it in the same line.
Hmm.
In starting position, if I do this, Python will throw an error saying that I don't know what to do when I enter this for loop. So when you want to tell Python that you have to enter this for loop and execute some code again and again, you have to indent the code. Let's say I want just to print X. And if I execute this for now, just guess what would happen.
Hmm. Would it show all the foods that are in the line?
Oh no, we're actually printing 1 to 20.
Hmm.
We're just actually printing numbers from 1 to 20.
Hmm.
Forget about this thing right now. Okay.
Okay.
Just remember, we're just talking about these two lines. So if I execute this code,
Hmm.
somehow strangely prints 1 to 20. So how it does that is what I'm going to talk about next. What's happening here is we are using the for loop. So we told Python that for something, I want you to execute this code again and again. Whatever we write here inside the for loop will get executed repeatedly. So for now, I just want Python to execute this print statement repeatedly. Now, what I did here was use the range. So when I write range 1 through 21, it means that I want Python to go from the starting number to this ending number. I'll just show an example to you like this. I'll just comment this code and I write print and I'll write a range. Range is 1 to 21. It just prints 1 to 21.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, basically it's the same as you, if you remember, if you wanted to print multiple elements from the list, let's say from food list, you did this. You start from second position and then put a colon and then go to, let's say, ninth position. So it would print everything from 2 to 8. It would not include the last one, right? It would not include the ninth position. Do you remember
Okay.
that we talked about that?
Yes.
Okay. So just like that, in ranges as well, the left number, the starting number is always included, and the right number or the ending number is always excluded. So when we write 1 to 21, it goes from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15, 16, 19, and 20. But it does not include 21. So always remember that the ending numbers in Python are always excluded.
Okay.
Now, what did we do here with the for loop? So we said that for a variable in this range, let's say from 1 to 20, just keep printing whatever the variable value is. So what Python does is, if I show you a step-by-step guide, it first comes to this line of code and executes this. It sees that x should be from 1 to 21. So initially in the memory, it declares a variable called x and assigns it the value 1. Then it comes to this statement. It sees that it has to print the value of x. So it executes the statement print x, which in result will print 1 on the screen. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
since it's a loop, it will go to the for this statement again. It will see that for x in range 1 to 21. But now it knows that 1 is already used. So now it increases the value by 1 and now assigns x the value of 2. Because we told Python that go from 1 to 21. So it will keep increasing the value of x by 1 each time, and then it will execute whatever we have told it to do here. So now it has in the memory assigned x equals 2. Now it will again come to this line of code that's print x. So, okay, now Python will execute print x and it will print 2 on the screen. Now this statement is executed again. So it will go back to the for loop line again. It reads x in range 21, 1 to 21, but the last value was 2. So now it will increase it and become 3.
Three.
In the memory, now x is 3, and then it goes back to this statement. It says, okay, print x. All right, I'm going to do that for you, no problem. And then it will print 3. It will execute this code, print x, and x is 3.
Okay.
Again, it will go back to the for loop, increase the value of x by 1. So now x becomes,
Oh,
what would
four.
be the, 4. And now it will again go to this part. It'll say, okay, print x, no problem, sir. I'll do it for you. It'll print x, which will now print 4 on the screen. So this way, it will keep executing until x is 20, and then it will print x again. Now, if this reach, it will go again here and check for x in range 1 to 21. So 21 is like the ending number, which is not included. 21 is excluded. So now that it has reached 20, and if it increases it by 1, it reaches 21, which is the ending number, which means that it has reached the end of the loop. So now it will stop execution, and then instead of going to the print statement, it will straight away go to whatever is written after the for loop. Let's say we'll print For loop completed. And I'll comment the code. And if I execute this now, what do you think will be printed? Can you like just guess?
Maybe it will just print for loop completed.
But it will print for loop completed after printing
Mm.
1 to 20. Because we're still telling it to print 1 to 20.
Hmm.
And after it is done, then print for loop completed. So when I execute this code, see it's the same thing that's happening. 1 to
Okay.
20, and once the loop is reached at the end, it prints the for loop completed. Okay, so I know it was a little difficult concept to grasp, to understand,
Hmm.
but essentially what was happening here was that Python was, I'll show you what was happening. Print 2, print 3, and if I just copy the statement Windows C, and yes, go crazy. So 4 and 5 and 6.
6, 7, and continued.
Sorry?
I'm just counting.
So I'll just, let's say I'll keep it at 10, okay? So
Hmm.
instead of actually having to write these 10 lines, let's say I just want to print till 10. So instead of actually having to write all these 10 lines, I just said Python. You know what? I'm repeating the print and these parentheses code all the time. All I'm changing is the numbers. So in place of numbers, I'll just write a variable. Let's say I'll call it X. So I just told Python that Python, please execute this code 10 times for me, 10 times for me, and keep the value of X between 0, I mean, between 1 and 11. Execute 10 times, and X value keep between 1 and 11. So instead of talking to Python like this, that execute it 10 times and keep the value of X between 1 and 11, we do it like this, that for values of X in range 1 through 11, repeat this code that you print X for me. It's the same thing that we've written here. But if you think about it like this, that you're telling Python that keep the value of the variable between this and this range, and then repeat some code where you print the variable value of X or whatever the variable is. Now this variable can be anything. I can name it tray. So like for tray in range 1 to 11, just print the value of tray. Oh, I cannot do it. If I do it like this, it will still print the same thing. So go ahead and I'll comment this one out. And if I execute the code now, it still prints 1 to 10. So this is a variable name. It is arbitrary. So you can name it anything you want. It's just something that Python considers it a variable, and Python uses it to change the values after every loop, after every time it executes this code. So yeah, as I said, it was a little difficult concept to grasp. Do you have any questions, or do you understand what happened here, or do you still feel confused?
I understand. You're fading out a little bit though.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, I can hear you a bit more better now.
All right. Okay, so I just wrote 1 to 10. So let's say if I want you to print till 100, can you write a code that would print till 1 from 1 to 100 for me? Okay, so for X in range, okay, 1 to 101, okay, sounds good to me. hmm And then you're going to print X. Okay.
and then just execute the code.
Uh huh. So if the code is correct, it executes it and prints whatever you wanted it to. So it printed 1 to 100, which is awesome. So I'll just comment here that you printed from 1 to 100. Right. So same way, if I asked you to print from 1 to 1000, you would be able to do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Just by changing the numbers in range. So now let's try a couple of different exercises. Let's say if I want you to print from 36 to 74, can you
Mm.
print it now? Okay, for x. Okay, so it's just like talking to Python that for x in range or for x in numbers this to this, do this for me or do whatever you want for me. So for x in range, I want you to print from 36 to 74. Okay, and if you execute that, huh, it does print from 36 to 74. Okay, so what if now I tell you that I'm fed up of numbers? I just want you to write your own name 100 times for me.
Hmm.
Then would you be able to do that?
Maybe.
Go ahead and let's try to do that. Okay, for
So do I still type in X, or do I have to type in my name for this?
no, you can see this is going to be a counter variable, so you
Hmm.
can name
Okay.
it anything that you want. Okay, for Z in range. Okay, I want you to type your name 100 times.
Okay.
No, this is a range, so it means that you will pass it numbers only.
Uh,
So you'll give it a starting number, you'll give it an ending number.
hmm.
Okay, from 1 to 101. Okay, this would make it 100 times. Okay, the colon. Awesome. So
Hmm.
for all these times, I just want you to print your name. So you can print, and what will you print? You'll print tray. Okay, and if you execute the code, it should throw an error.
Hmm.
Go ahead and execute the code. Why?
Because there's no colon.
No colon. No. So now check out. It's actually telling you that there's some error. What error? It's telling you that
The
tray
name
not
is not
defined.
defined.
So why do you think it's telling us that? It should not
Hmm.
even know that this is a name. It should think that this is a word and it should not ask me for it.
Hmm.
So where did we go wrong? To tell Python that something is a word, what do we need to do?
Hmm.
We need to wrap the word with some symbol.
Hmm. Symbol.
We have to put some symbol before and after the word so that Python knows that
Bracket?
it is a word.
Do we put in brackets?
No. How do we declare string variables? Let's say I want to declare a variable called name and I want to store the value tray in it. How will I do it now? What would I do? Do I always type in tray like this or do I add something else as well? so that Python knows that this is a string.
Quotation marks.
Yes, exactly. So we need quotation marks. So when you print tray like this, Python thinks that tray is something that's already there in the memory, and it searches for a box with the label tray. But we have not declared a variable tray. We just want it to print tray like this as
Mm.
type. So we cover it with the quotation marks. This way it will treat it as a string and print whatever we pass it. So now when you execute the code,
Okay.
whoa, huh. If only we had this facility when the teacher gave us something to write for 5 times or 10 times. When I was a kid, when my teacher got pissed, she would just tell the whole class that okay, you're going to write the table of 10, 50 times or 60 times. And poor us, we would actually be writing things with the pencil. If only I knew I could do that with 2, 3 lines of code. So now you can though. So if you do ever get homeworks like that, you can use Python and get through it.
Okay.
So you see what happened here. It's you declared some variable z, right? But you're not
Yeah.
using the z anywhere. Because z is actually a number from 1 to 100. So when you know exactly what you have to do, let's say I'll just erase. Oh no, why would I erase the code? I'll just comment it for now. Let's say you know exactly how many times you have to execute a code. Let's say you have to write your name 5 times. So you know exactly that you'll be executing the code 5 times. So you can skip the starting number and you can just tell Python that for I in range 5, print tray. So if you do this, it's still invalid syntax for I. Oh, I forgot the word in.
Mm.
For I in range 5, print tray. Even if
Mm.
you forget to give it a starting number, as long as you have a correct ending number, it will count from 0 to the ending number, excluding the end number. So what this
Okay.
did was counted from 0, went to 1, went to 2, 3, 4. And just as it reached 5, it realized that 5 is the ending number. So it printed this 0th time, first time, second, third, and fourth. The moment it reached fifth, it realized that that's the ending number. So it stopped printing. So now if I want you to type your name 15 times, instead of going from 1 to 15, you can just type in 15 here.
Hmm.
As long as you just type a correct end number, it still works. So by the same logic, if I want you to print all the numbers till 75, can you type in the for loop for me?
Maybe can we repeat that?
If I want you to print all the numbers till 75, can you
Mm.
write the for loop for me? Okay, for whatever variable, you can just name it anything. Okay, C in range, I want till 75.
So we just.
Let's say 25. Let's just keep it 25. I want till 25. But I want 25 printed. Okay, okay. Print. What would you print? The number. And where is the number being stored? It's being stored in C. Awesome. So, okay, invalid syntax. It shows where the error might be. So, do you think you're forgetting anything after the parentheses?
Colon.
Uh huh. So, go ahead and correct that. Okay.
Hmm?
Expected an indented block. What could that error be?
Hmm.
So, every time after you place the colon symbol, the next line has to be
Oh.
Indented, yes. No, you don't need to. Uh-huh.
Mm.
Okay, so you erase it off. So even, hang on, so don't execute it right now. Even if it was like this, you can just go to the start of it, start of the line, and press the tab character, which is above the caps lock key. So go ahead and press the tab, and there we go. It indents the
Okay.
code. So you don't actually need to erase everything.
Okay.
So see what happened here. It printed 25, but what it does is, when you don't give it a starting number, it starts counting from zero.
Mm.
So if you don't want to print zero, you have to give it a starting number, let's say 1. So now you tell Python that you want to travel from 1 till 26 and print all the C's. So if you print it now, it
There's
will
no zero.
everything but no zero. So when you don't specify the starting number, it will always start counting from 0. Any questions so far?
No, I got it.
You got it. Okay. So I mean, let's end on a higher note. So we've apparently come to the end of the session, but these for loops seem a little more interesting, so we'll keep working with them in the next session as well. While I'll leave you with a couple of tasks that make you use the for loop. Do you think you'll be able to do these? Do you think you understand for loops a little bit now?
Yeah, I understand them a little bit now.
Mm-hmm. So let's say print. What will you print? Print all the numbers from 73 to 155 on the screen using for loop. So you should be able to do this, right? Just
Yes.
write the for loop and then you give the range. Print all numbers from 0 to 63. Okay, how about this? Print all the even numbers from, let's say, between 10 and 33. So all this you have to do using for loop, okay?
Okay.
This task 3 is a little trickier, just like you had to compare three variables and check which one was the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a little tricky. If you want a hint, I can give you a hint. You can use the if statement inside the for loop.
Mm.
This is a hint. It You can use this, but you can do it without using the if statement as well. Oh, I spelled it terribly wrong. Okay, so try to do the third one as well. But if you are not able to do it, don't worry about it. We are going to talk about it in the next session anyway. So
Okay.
it's something that is kind of like a prequel to what we're going to study on Friday or learn about on Friday. So just try to do the first two and third one. If you can do it, that's brilliant. If you cannot, don't stress out. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So if you have any questions, you can ask me right now.
No, there's no questions I have.
Any doubts or anything?
Hey, Trey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Trey, if I were to ask you what was the aha moment for today, what was that aha moment? Would you be able to explain and provide some example?
Mostly how I can just go all the way up to higher numbers using the loops.
Okay. And was there anything that really got your attention today? That
Yeah, that you can loop a lot of things, like even names too.
Mhm. Excellent, excellent. Great, great. Well, that was great feedback. So great. How are you enjoying the sessions, Python coding sessions?
They're good. They're really good.
Awesome.
Sounds
Perfect.
like you're
So,
learning something new.
yep. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for the session today.
Hmm.
No problem. And
Thanks
I'll
for great
see you next
participation.
time.
So let's connect next. You guys are next sessions on Friday at 1 p.m. Okay.
Okay.
I think Prantap, are you leaving some homework for him or?
Yeah, I left a couple of tasks for him. They
Okay.
give him a proper practice and exposure to the Python code.
Trey, a question for you. The website that we shared with you last time for enrichment, are you using it?
I just saw like a few things on it, but it looks really helpful.
Okay, so maybe if there's anything particular that
Even on even while
Prantap you want to point out from there
Mhm.
that he
even
could
while
look into.
going through that website, and if you find something that confuses you, or even if there's something that make you question that, okay, what day is this, or when did I learn this, or what does this do, you can just copy the link and remember that this was the page, and I can explain it to you as well. So whenever you have a doubt, don't worry and just ask me. Feel free to ask me anything. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. So try and go
Sounds great.
to the page where they teach about for loops on the same website that I told you. On the left hand
Mhm.
side of the page, you'll see all these topics. So you'll probably find four for loop there. Try clicking on that and try reading up what they have explained, and see if you can get more understanding out of it.
Okay.
All right, no problem, man.
All right, sounds like a plan. Well, thank you guys for a great session today.
No problem.
Awesome. We'll see you back on Friday. Take
Okay.
care. Bye bye, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.